Question number 7 on section 2.8. We're given f of x is negative 2x minus 1, h of x is negative x minus 4, and we want to find f of h of negative 5. I'm going to show you a way to do this. This is more graphical than if you look at the example I did in the previous video, number 6. I'm thinking of this as a composition of functions where my first function is h of x, and then my next function is f of x. When I see these problems, I think about taking this negative 5 here given, first plugging it into the h function, and then whatever result you get out of there, you're going to plug that into the f function. So I'm going to take negative 5, plug it into the h of x function, and I'm going to get a number out, and whatever that number is, I'm going to plug it into the f of x function, and then whatever I get out of there is going to give me my final answer. Well, the h of x function is negative x minus 4. Evaluate h at negative 5. Plug negative 5 into the h of x function, and you get negative 5 minus 4. When you simplify this, you get 5 minus 4, which is 1. So when you plug negative 5 into the h of x function, the output, what you get out, is 1. Now we're going to take 1 and plug it into the f of x function, where f of x excuse me, is negative 2x minus 1, and we want to find f of 1. When you plug this in and you simplify, you get negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. So negative 3 is the final answer. And what we've done here is you take the negative 5, plug it into the h function, and whatever you get out of there, you're going to plug it into the f function. So it's like we're going in here, evaluating negative 5, and the output is positive 1. And then that output 1, you're going to plug into the f function, and then your final answer, negative 3. Hope you like that method. For me, it's a very visual method, and it's kind of the one that I do most. Let's look at 8. We want to find f of g of x and g of f of x. So we're putting one function inside of another function. To find f of g of x, that's the same thing as taking the whole g of x function and plugging it inside the f of x function. So this is going to be f of 6 minus 4x. And we are going to take the entire h of x function here, and we're going to plug it in to where you see the x on the f of x function. So this is going to look like this. F of x function is 7x, but instead of x, you're going to plug in the h of x. 7x, instead of x, you're going to plug in 6 minus 4x. Replace that x with 6 minus 4x. Now we use algebra to simplify this. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times negative 4 is minus 28x, and then minus 1. When we simplify this by combining like terms, we get negative 28x plus 41. Let's check our answer. So that's our f of g of x. It's a composition where you take the g function, you plug it into the f function. The next part we want to find is g of f of x. That's where you take the g function and put the whole f of x function inside of it. So that we can write it as g of, excuse me, f of x function is 7x minus 1. So this is the g function is, oh, I'm sorry, I have h when it should be g, but okay, this should be g. Sorry, I just caught my mistake. The g function is 6 minus 4x, but instead of x, I'm going to plug in the whole f of x function. We're doing this, where we take the whole f of x function now and plug it into where you see the x there. So we're going to write in 7x minus 1. Now we're going to use a distributive property to simplify this. 6 minus 4 times 7 is 28x, and negative 4 times negative 1 is a positive 4. Combine like terms, and we get negative 28x plus 10. To the composition, when you combine functions, often you will see that the answers are different depending on the order in which you plug them in. Let's look at number 9. We want to find f of g of x and its domain, and g of f of x and its domain, but do not evaluate. So to find f of g of x, you're going to put the whole g function inside of the x function, f of x function. And since f of x is x to the third power, all this something to the third power, you're going to take the whole g of x function and plug it in where you see the x here. So we get x squared plus 5x minus 7. Okay. It says do not evaluate, so we don't have to worry about simplifying that with algebra. Let's check our answer. X squared plus 5x minus 7, and then the whole thing to the third power. Okay, the domain. There are no restrictions on the domain here. You can plug anything into x. So the domain is from negative infinity to infinity. Now let's find g of f of x. Doing this in reverse. G of f of x. This is where you take the f of x function and plug it into the g of x function. And the g of x function is x squared, but I'm going to replace the x with the f of x function, 5x, and then minus 7. Okay, so hopefully you can get an idea of why I kind of wrote it like this. This is your x. You're going to replace the x squared plus 5x minus 7. Replace the x's there with the whole g function, and there's two places to do that. F of x is x cubed. Now we can simplify this. X to the third power raised to the second power. Power to a power, you're going to multiply the powers to get x to the sixth power plus 5x to the third power minus 7. Let's check our answer. Good job. And the domain here, again, we don't have to worry about the domain here because you can plug in any number in for x. So the domain is from negative infinity to positive infinity. finally, the last one, number 10. For number 10, we're given a function f of x is 2x minus 7, and g of x is a half of the quantity x plus 7. Find f of g of x and g of f of x, and then determine whether f of g of x is equal to g of f of x. Alright, let's start off with the f of g of x. F of g of x is where you take the whole g function and plug it into the f function. So the f function is 2x minus 7. We're going to plug the g of x function into that. So it's going to be f of 1 half of x plus 7. Okay, the f of x function is 2x minus 7. So again, I'm going to replace the x here with the entire g of x function, which is a half of x plus 7. When you simplify this, 2 times a half is 1. 1 times x plus 7 minus 7. 1 times x and 1 times 7. This is the same thing as x plus 7 minus 7, which simplifies to x. So f of g of x is x. Let's do the other composition. Find g of f of x. This is where you put the whole f of x function into the g of x function. So it's going to be g of 2x minus 7. The g of x function is 1 half of x plus 7. Okay, I left the space there because the x here we are going to replace with the whole f of x function. So it's going to be 2x plus, right, 2x minus 7. When we simplify this in the parentheses, we're going to have 2x minus 7 plus 7 is 2x. And then this simplifies to x. A half times 2 is 1. 1x is x. Oh, look, we get the same thing. So for this example, does f of g of x equal g of f of x? In this example, it does.